Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to get started early because I have so much to talk to you guys about today, and I don't want to wait. So let's see here. Today we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts of, uh, of generators. When you own a generator, how all the things you should do with it and all the things you should not do with it. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about this. We will get to it here in just a minute. Um, all right. I don't have my helper with me today. Megan is off today, so it's just me. But we're going to use a little help from Dr. Seuss, Green Eggs and Ham, if you're familiar with that book. I'm probably, I don't think I'll get in trouble for copyright infringement on Green Eggs and Ham. But there's a little Sam I Am. I would not have it in a boat. I would not have it with a goat. I would not eat green eggs and ham. I will not have them. Sam I Am. So we're gonna, as we get into this, we're gonna talk about all the things you should do with a generator and all the things you should not do. So let's get started. Let's see if I can make this work so you guys can see it properly. Right. There we go. All right. So, Firman Power Equipment. As you can see, a whole bunch of our generators here. We've got our V twin in the middle, a big boy that's coming out here in about a month. 12,000 watts running, 15,000 watts peak. We've got there in the background some of the bigger generators, 9,200 watt CO shutoff generator, our big 8,000 watt tri-fuels, dual fuel inverters in the front. Over on the far left-hand side, I just want to call out, check out the big tires on that camouflage. That's our model P0309, 03609. It's a camouflage generator, but that big wheel kit is model number 1505. It's available on our website. If you're somebody that lives in a place where you need to roll your generator across rocks or gravel or dirt or mud or anything but a pretty smooth surface, grass, from time to time that can be a pain. The wheels that we ship with all of our generators, they're really meant to last forever, and they don't require any air. They're puncture proof. But having pneumatic tires, air-filled tires, can make it much easier to roll over rough terrain. So we sell a wheel kit, pneumatic wheel kit, model 1505 on our website that you can purchase. It'll fit any of our open frame generators, everything from our 3,650 watt series all the way up to the 10,000 watt generators. So it comes with axles that will adapt to any of those sizes from 3,650 watts to 10,000 watts and everything in between. So check that out. So let's get into what we're talking about today, do's and don'ts. The first one, I would not run them in enclosed spaces. Always use your generator in a well-ventilated area. You want to point the exhaust in a different direction. Since portable generators sit in one place and run for an extended period of time, it's important to place them downwind and point the engine exhaust away from any nearby people. So this one should be obvious, but unfortunately it's not all that obvious all the time. Generators put out carbon monoxide the same way a car does. So everybody, I think, understands that you don't want to run your car in the garage or in any kind of enclosed space. Works the exact same way for a generator. It's pumping out carbon monoxide. That stuff's poison and it'll kill you. So it's really important that you never run a generator in an enclosed space. That includes under a deck, in a room. So that's the first picture over here on the left. That's okay, right? No, that's not okay. And you might think, well, gosh, what if he's running it with that little door open underneath the deck? Still not okay. Carbon monoxide is going to concentrate in that area. It could easily find its way up into a sliding glass door if they have that door open, or even if the door is not open, they're still way too close to the house here. In addition, generators they create a lot of heat and they need a lot of cooling. And so enclosing them in a space doesn't help. You're going to shorten the life of your generator and cause it to run hotter than it really should. So no to that one. How about this guy? Looks like he's getting ready to run his generator on a porch. Also, not a good idea. We know, everybody knows from watching us, that you've got to run at least 20 feet away from any dwelling, so not on a porch. This guy, I mean, gosh, this one's egregious. He's inside of a room. Definitely not that. So at least 20 feet from any structure, not in any kind of enclosed space, and not even in a porch. I know I've not in an open garage. We had a guy at a trade show last year who insisted that it was okay for him to run his generator in his garage as long as he had his garage door cracked open. That's not right. Unfortunately, the seal on the door that goes from your garage door to your house might not be perfect, and it doesn't take much for carbon monoxide to find its way in through anywhere that air can go in. Carbon monoxide can go in. So running in the garage, even if you had the garage door wide open, still not okay. I would not run them near doors or windows. This goes hand in hand with the first one. Never use indoors. Place the generator at least 20 feet away from windows, doors, or any dwelling. Extension cords running directly into the home can increase your risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. So you might think like, this first guy, he's got his generator running on his back porch or maybe a screen room. No, not a good idea. The second one here, they've got the generator running right next to a door. Absolutely not a good idea. It looks like it's running next to an open screen door. And then they've got the cord going in. So again, we just talked about this. If air can get in, exhaust can get in, and carbon monoxide can get in. So this is a big no-no as well. I would not run them in a garage or a shed. We're going to hammer on this a lot. Even if the garage door is up, never use a generator in a garage. The only safe place to operate a portable generator is outside, at least 20 feet away from any dwelling. And this is important too. If you feel any symptoms, get away right away. Leave right away. Very high levels of carbon monoxide can cause victims to lose consciousness quickly. So if you experience symptoms, don't attempt to turn off the generator before moving to fresh air. Just get out to fresh air. Again, extension cords running directly into your home, powering indoor items is not recommended. Not this guy running it in the shed. Absolutely not this guy running it in a garage. I would not run them in bad elements. So this one's tricky. We do everything we can to protect our generators, our Firman generators, from the elements. We have covered outlets on all of our outlets. But that being said, we really don't want you running it in the rain. We really don't want you running it in the snow either. You really need to run it on a dry surface, at least 5 feet from any structure, trees, or vegetation. Again, at least 20 feet away from any dwelling. Exhaust gas and exhaust heat and gases could ignite. So, the people will get really creative in making all kinds of different boxes and things for their generators to try and cut down on the noise or maybe protect them from the elements. The problem with that is that most of those boxes that people are creating are made out of things like wood that can catch on fire. So we have a spark arrestor in our generator, but if anything goes wrong at all, you really don't want anything around that could catch on fire. Keep your generator in a dry place, keep it covered, keep it out of the humidity. This was one that people don't think about a lot. Be aware of pesky rodents. Rodents like to chew on wires. Some of you out there might have some experience with that. If you've ever, I had some mice chewed on some wires in our toy hauler, and it was a total pain. So they like to chew on stuff. Don't handle the generator or electrical cords while you're standing in water, while you're barefoot, or while your hands or feet are wet. Again, these might seem obvious, but they're super important. Oops, we skipped right away. All right, so this guy running in the rain? No. Running it with it sitting in the snow? Absolutely not. Not a good idea. The question comes up then, well, what do you do if there's a storm? It's raining outside and there's a storm and now the power goes out. Really, the right answer is wait until the storm passes and then keep your refrigerator and your freezer closed so your food stays cold. And then when the storm passes, you can fire up your generator outside and run it safely where you're supposed to. That's really the right thing to do with a generator. I would not connect them like MacGyver. Anyone else remember MacGyver? I'm 50 years old, so I think MacGyver was really hot in like the late 80s, early 90s. He was a guy that just thought, if he had duct tape and baling wire and a bobby pin, he could do anything. A paper clip. You don't need a jump start when you have a paper clip. Don't get creative with your generator. Don't try and come up with creative ways to connect your generator. It can be deadly to your family, your coworkers, utility workers. A really big no-no, we hear this one all the time, is that people say, oh, well, the way I'm going to connect my generator to my house is I'm going to make a cord myself, and you'd have to make one because nobody makes these cords because they're not safe, but they call them suicide cords. And people say, oh, I'm going to make this cord, and I'll plug it into my generator, and I'll plug it into the outlet where my dryer plugs in, or to the outlet where my air compressor plugs into my garage, and backfeed my electrical panel. Really bad idea. The reason it's a bad idea is that when people do that, that in order to disconnect their electrical panel from the power grid, they'd have to turn off the main breaker in their panel. However, if somebody forgets to do that, or somebody goes out and turns that main breaker back on, not knowing what's going on, the generator is feeding electricity into that panel. And your power company, they know the power's out. So maybe they've got a lineman out there working on the line, and they believe that the power's out. But the power's not out because somebody with their suicide cord is backfeeding electricity through their panel into the electrical lines, and they can electrocute a lineman. Or when you've got your generator running and you forgot to turn your main breaker off, or someone turns the main breaker back on, and the power comes back on, and now you're feeding electricity into your panel with your generator, and the power company's feeding electricity into the panel with all their power. And it's a really good recipe to have your generator fail or catch on fire, or have wiring catch on fire. And many homes have been burned down this way. So don't do that. Don't create a suicide cord like this guy. Also, people tend to get creative with their RVs. So we've got a guy who very creatively made a slide-out drawer that goes in his RV, and he's got plugs that he mounted on the outside. And that might seem like a good idea, but you can see where his exhaust is. The exhaust is gonna find its way, like we talked about, into that cabinet, and probably pretty easily into the RV, where it can really cause some loss of life or some damage to people that are in that RV. So not a good idea. The best way to connect your generator to your home is to have a certified electrician install a transfer switch. They'll install a transfer switch on the house. You can plug your generator into that transfer switch. It'll provide power to breakers on your home, and that's really by far the safest way to accomplish that. So don't be MacGyver. Would not use the wrong cords. Cords are important. Think about a cord the same way you would think about a pipe. If you've got a piece of pipe or a garden hose, it'll only contain a certain amount of water, right? So cords are the same way. So depending on the amperage, you need a bigger gauge cord. The chart on the right hand side there shows, if you're using a 13 amps, you need a 16 gauge cord. If you're running 15 amps, you need a 14 gauge cord. By the way, all of our household generator utility cords are 14 gauge. They're heavy duty. Those are our kind of standard extension cords that you would use around the house. You can buy some cheaper cords out there that you're going to find at discount stores that are going to be maybe 16 gauge or worse, are going to be 18 gauge. Not a good idea. Those cords will heat up, and they can also spark and catch fire and arc. So make sure you're using the right size cord. If you're using a 20 amps, you need a 12 gauge cord. If you're using 30 amp, you need a 10 gauge cord. Now, all of our 30 amp cords that we sell, and we have a whole bunch on our website that are available and in stores, all of our 30 amp cords are all 10 gauge, so they're the proper wiring size. And then 50 amps, if you're connecting an RV maybe that uses 50 amp power, or you're connecting your generator to a transfer switch, that's probably going to be 50 amp power. That's a 6-gauge cord. And we've got those cords coming out very, very soon. We're excited about launching those, but make sure you're using the right cord for the right job. This guy here has got a whole bunch of cords going into his house off these 20 amp plugs. So what's wrong with this picture? That should be okay, right? The only issue here is that he's getting he's spreading out 20 amps over 4 cords. It would be much better to use a 30 amp cord that has 3 or 4 ends on the end of it that go to 120 volts each. We offer those cords as well because you're going to get 20 amp power on each of the 2 outlets, not spreading 20 amps across 4 plugs. I would not neglect my generator. Make sure your generator is in a well-maintained and good working order. So take care of it. Change the oil when you're supposed to. Follow the maintenance schedule that's in your owner's manual. Don't forget to regularly check the spark plug, the spark arrestor, and the muffler. We did a video on that just a week and a half ago. Gas and air filters. The combustion chamber cleaning, that's something that you have to do every 250 hours with generators. There's really good instructions on how to do that and that are available through our website and also available through our tech support team. It's not that hard. It sounds daunting, but it's really not that hard to do that. Alternatively, if you're not comfortable doing the combustion chamber cleaning every 250 hours, we can get you to a service center where they can get that accomplished as well. Always read your owner's manual. I'm one of those guys that when I get something new, when I get a new truck or something like that, I read the manual. And I do it because invariably there's features that I didn't know about that make it more fun to own. So read the owner's manual with your generator. You're going to learn a lot. If you don't plan on using a generator often, make sure you don't leave old gas in the gas tank and the fuel lines and the carburetor. So all of these are bad examples of people not taking very good care of their generators. I would not mishandle gasoline. Boy, this is a big one. Never under any circumstances add gas to your generator while it's running. That has caused so many fires. In both of these pictures here, here's this guy, the one on the right, we don't know if that generator is running, but it might be. The one on the left, that's definitely what happened. He's got his generator running in the back of his truck. That's a no-no. Don't do that. But if anything goes wrong, you not only do you lose a generator, but you lose a truck. But he also definitely caused this fire by filling the generator while it's running. There's a lot of hot parts on a generator, and gas is combustible. So if you spill any gas when you're filling, and you're even more likely to do that if you're filling it like this guy did with the generator up in the back of the truck, very, very easy way to catch your generator on fire. Always fill the tank outside. Don't ever fill above the red fuel level indicator that you're going to see when you've got the cap off. If the fuel spills, wipe it up right away. Wait for it to evaporate. Again, fuel and fuel vapor are extremely flammable, and generators have hot parts on them that can combust that fuel. Don't let your generator run for more than 14 or 15 hours in a row if you can do that, and allow it to take a 2 or 3 hour break in between. Let it cool down for 10 minutes, and obviously turn it off, but let it cool down for 10 minutes before you fill it up. Transport the fuel with the fuel tank empty anytime you can. And certainly at least turn the fuel valve off. And then make sure you're using the right fuel. Regular unleaded gasoline is fine with a minimum of 87 octane. And then don't use gasoline that has more than 10% ethanol or alcohol in it, E85. No to this and no to this. I will follow directions. So I'll start the generator with no electrical load attached. That means plug the cords in after the generator is running. Allow the engine to run for several minutes to stabilize, plug in and turn on your first item. So we're going to start the generator, we're going to let it run for a minute, then we're going to plug in our cords, then we're going to turn things on. Never stop the generator with electrical devices plugged in and turned on. So again, reverse order. Turn off your electrical devices, unplug your cords, then turn off the generator. Never stop the engine by moving the choke to the start position. I don't know why you would do that, but don't do that. Use the switch that's on the generator to turn it off. and then connect it to a trickle charger. So when you're storing your generator long term, if you have a generator that has an electric start or has a remote start, you're going to want to plug in a trickle charger. So all of our inverters that require batteries come with a trickle charger. Trickle chargers are available really inexpensively, your local hardware store, automotive store, for any of our, that'll connect to the batteries on any of our open frame generators. And that's it. By the way, that's Tristan in that picture. That's from last February. Tristan's a member of our technical support team. So if you call us ever at 844-FIRMAN-1, you might get Tristan on the phone. He's been with us for a number of years and knows everything there is to know about Firman generators. He's a great dude. Next week, I am going to be joining Mike from Mike's Weather Page on our on a Mike's Weather Page cruise. Looking forward to that, and we'll catch you all next week. We're going to do a live feed on Monday. That'll be Megan and Laramie. So you guys get a treat to have them coming to you live on Monday, and then I'll be coming to you live next week on Friday, Wi-Fi willing, from the ship. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to do our best. But thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and